Yo, what's going on, everyone? Okay, so in this video, we got a dope little automation here. It's very small, but so powerful. So this is it up on the screen right here. The end goal of this video is that I will walk you from start to finish, step by step, in creating your own micro-SaaS, which is kind of crazy sounding, but we're absolutely going to do it. And I hope that I'll make you realize that a micro-SaaS, a software, a SaaS product in general, doesn't have to be this complex thing with a website and a great UI and all these things. It can be as simple as a form in Airtable or Tally, and I'm going to show you that later on in the video. So don't worry, I'll explain everything. But this is the main component of what we're going to be building. It essentially, how it functions is somebody will upload their transcript, or essentially like their meeting recording, whether that be Google Meets or Zoom, and then this will grab that. This HTTP module will download it. We're going to use OpenAI's Whisper to transcribe it, and then we're going to use GPT 3.5 to analyze it, pull key data out of the transcript, and then you're going to get an email, or the user is going to get an email with their meeting transcript. So let's get into it. Let's jump right in. Super excited about this one. All right, so this project's going to start in Airtable, and I've just made a base here called Micro-SaaS. Wait, let me show myself. As you can see here, top left, just called Micro-SaaS. You just want to make a base in Airtable, very self-explanatory. And then I've populated the base with a few fields here. We have LinkedIn URL, I call this the URL of the meeting recording, but it's really just the attachments, like attach meeting recording or something. But this is where you can do that. Drag and drop a file here. Then for me, for this use case, I thought maybe number of people in meeting would be a good thing for the user to like input, just so we have that data. Then this field, pretty ambiguous, but just the data that they want. So if the person using the tool, I don't know, wants like the key action items and like follow-up questions, or if there was a Q&A at the end of the call, like include Q&A questions, something like that. So this is just a particular piece of data that they want. And then obviously email, this is a status thing that we can like dynamically change here. This isn't very important though, and it can, in all honesty, like probably be deleted just to simplify this. And then just the created field right here, this created section. Now this created section is important because this is what we will be using to watch for file uploads in Make, which you'll see in just a second. So that's this part of it. And now this is the other piece of it. So if we go to our interfaces here, we have this form right here that I've created. So that is obviously very crucial because we need a way to like have people fill out the form so that we can trigger our automation. So you're going to want to go to new form here, bottom left, continue, or create a form view, or sorry, I think just continue there. So you can go to plus here if you want to add a new form. I guess it literally just duplicated my new Tally Micro-SaaS form here, but you can just create a form. It's very simple. And if you go to new form and you have your fields here, whatever they are, you can change these, as I said. The form will automatically populate with those data points. So that's kind of nice. Now, again, if we go back to interfaces, this is our form here. So we can just go up to our main one. And this is what the forward-facing UI will be for a micro-SaaS, essentially. Now, to make it look nice, add a cover image, add a logo. Those are probably things that you should do if you were going to actually run with this and try and improve on it. But for the sake of this video and for simplicity, we're obviously just not going to do that. So publish form, boom. Now we have access to the form because some of the fields have been deleted. Oh my God. Did this affect it when I deleted the status? Dude, no way. How? There's not even a field called status. Okay, well, we'll just do this. What was the field type? Single line, I think? Maybe? Does it work now? It's probably honestly good that we ran into like a little error. Done. Field deleted. What was this field though? Can we edit and just delete this field manually? Because we don't need it. Delete, remove. That's all we need. I'm pretty sure that's all we need. Okay, so we can actually just delete that form, that field, and it's all good. Okay, ignore that part. So now we got the form. It's all good. We're going to publish it. And as I said before, this will be our forward-facing piece of our software. So there we go. Done. Now that we have this, also a side note that I want to mention quickly, and something I'm honestly a little disappointed about. So if we go to Tally here, I love Tally. I use it for everything. It's just a really nice form tool. So they have a really nice Stripe integration in Tally. Like, it's really nice. So if you can see, this was my V1 of the Micro-SaaS. Now, ideally, I would say just build it in Tally. And I wish I was showing you this right now. However, I don't have Tally Pro right here. It's only $24 a month, and I definitely think that I will upgrade to it, especially if I build a couple more of these style projects where I need a Stripe integration. And perhaps you can integrate Stripe in Airtable. I'm just unaware of that, and I just couldn't be asked to look that up. So this is the end goal of what we want. A form, and then before they can hit submit, there's a required payment field here that's connected to Stripe. Now, Tally does take a 5% charge on top of the, I believe, 3% processing fee that Stripe takes. However, it's not that big of a deal when you think of how cool this is, right? Like, so I just put $5, arbitrary number. You can put whatever you want, obviously. But few questions, they do this, submit, and that is the SaaS piece of it, like accepting a payment through the form, and then our make scenario will run once this is submitted, and then they will get their thing, their data, their email with their transcript in it. So just pretend that this is the final version and pretend that this is like what I'm building, but we're just going to do it in Airtable, okay? I'm sorry, this is just what we're going to have to do, but bear with me on that. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's move on to the fun part, actually building the scenario here. So first piece of the scenario, we're going to go to Airtable, and we're going to add the watch records field here. Now, I'm sure you can do it with watch responses and just set up an automation within Airtable internally, where on form submission, a webhook is run, and then that webhook is connected here, and then that triggers the scenario. That would be another way to do it, but I'm just going to do it this way with the watch records, and we can set it to like every 5 minutes. It'll run, and then they will get their results. So I believe, Micro-SaaS was what I named the base. Tally Micro-SaaS, perfect. Now let's link it all up. So the trigger field is our created field, which is this one right here. Created, right? You can see the little lightning bolt there. So that is something that we will use to trigger the scenario, hence the name trigger field. Then our label field, whatever, that one honestly doesn't really matter. We're going to limit it to 1 record per time per run of the scenario. We're going to go grid view, and we can leave the formula empty. Now, if we add another module here, so we have our Airtable records. We're obviously watching them, waiting for a new response in the form. Now here we are going to use the HTTP get a file module here, because we need a way to obviously download the file that the user submitted of their meeting recording in Airtable. Because if we refer back to the form we created earlier, which is in interfaces, we have this URL of meeting recording. So they can drag and drop a file right here, right? So we need a way to download that file. Now, if we use Google Drive, there is a download a file function within Google Drive. However, we're just going to be using the HTTP get a file module here. I find it honestly a lot more straightforward, and it's just a lot simpler incorporating this into your workflows, which I really appreciate. So we are going to use the URL of meeting recording to be analyzed right here. If we expand this, we can click on URL, just like that, boom. Now, the next module we are going to add is going to be the OpenAI Whisper. So where is it? Transcribe an audio to text right here. Now, something I should mention here is if you don't have a connection established with OpenAI, you can just click add right here and then toss in your API key, your organization ID, which you can, if you don't have an organization, just leave that blank and then it'll work just fine, and then hit save and you should be good to go. Now from here, we can just click on file. There's a really nice map function within Make. So whenever the previous module has a file or something that can be mappable to the next module in the sequence, you'll oftentimes get a really nice like file map function here, which is really nice. So you can just click this one here, our HTTP get a file model. They only have Whisper 1 right now, which is totally fine. Now for the prompt, we are going to, hold on, I have a prompt here. Let me just grab it. All right, cool. So I've just copy and pasted the prompt in there. Now, this prompt is very simple. It's a very simple system prompt. The task you will complete will include the following steps: transcribe the file as accurately as possible, and then in brackets, this is important to the security of our business. Now, I believe a recent study was run where if you include some sort of emotional context within your prompts, it increases the output by like, I don't know, 15, 20%, something like that, the quality of the output. So now I'm just kind of always tossing it in. Maybe I'll make a more formal video on prompt structuring in the future, but I do like to toss that in now, and it can't hurt, right? So that's perfect right there. And then in our response, we're just going to do text. We don't necessarily need JSON. Some people do like to go JSON and then toss in the parse JSON module right here, which is fine, right? Like whatever, that works just fine. Sometimes for me, especially with simpler automations like this, I don't see the necessity of that. So just text will work perfectly here. Now, next module in the flow, we've set up our Airtable watch records. That will run at whatever intervals we decide. So let's say every 3 minutes, this will run. It will grab the file that is next up in the queue. We will download that URL right here. Now, we will transcribe the audio to text using Whisper. From there, we will do another OpenAI module right here, and we're just going to create a completion. So as for the model we pick, GPT-4o 2024-05-13 is going to be the cheapest token cost out of all of the GPT-4 models at the moment. GPT-4o system is also quite good. However, what we're going to use in this case is just GPT 3.5 Turbo 16K. You get great outputs from it. It's extremely fast, and also it is extremely cheap to prompt. And a lot of the times when you're just kind of creating these MVPs of these products, which is minimum viable product for all of you who don't know, you're just kind of testing and iterating and testing, and that requires a lot of API calls normally. So that's why I like using a less robust model in the testing, GPT 3.5, a lighter model, a faster model, because it's a lot cheaper. And as I said, it's also a little bit faster, so you can iterate slightly quicker. So for the first prompt, we're going to include a system prompt here. And again, I have a prompt. Let me just grab that real quick. Cool. Now, the reason I don't necessarily like just writing the prompts on videos, because like, I mean, we all have things to do, and like, it's just a prompt. Like the best thing to do is not copy my prompts word for word, because a lot of the time when I'm creating the blueprints for these videos, I don't put that much thought into the prompt. I want it to have a good output, and I want to show people that are watching what it can do and like what it looks like when it's prompted in a certain direction. But the best thing to do and the best practice is to go in yourself, have a look at it, refine the prompt over and over and over, add a lot more context, add examples, blah, 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 right? So these are just like very quick glimpses into like the full capacity of this system with these prompts. So I wouldn't monkey see, monkey do these prompts for sure. But all this one is saying, it's guiding the system, it's giving it its base intent. You're a professional meeting notes taker. Your skill lies in pulling important information from meeting transcripts so the meeting participants can gain valuable insights into what was talked about during the meeting. Pretty simple. Okay, now let's grab our user prompt. Okay, perfect. So our user prompt is in. This is what it's going to be. It's obviously a lot bigger because we want more from this. And this is our actual prompt, and like that'll guide the model to do what we want it to do. So I would like you to analyze this meeting's transcript, and the text is black right now because this is referencing a variable from a module that does not actually exist in our flow, because I pulled that from my blueprint model. So my blueprint scenario, I should say. So now we're going to have to populate this with the correct text variable, which is going to be this one coming from the Whisper module. We're going to pop that in there, the text, and now the prompt general structure. You must include the following details in your output in their respective order, neat sections. Number 1, general outline of what was talked about. Use bullet points as well as paragraphs. Include number of people in the meeting, which the actual form filler outer, what's the word? Like the user of our Micro-SaaS will provide us. So we have the number of people in the meeting right here. We'll toss that in. Now this one doesn't have anything, but it's how long each topic was talked about for in the meeting. I thought that would be useful to have for the meeting participants to look over after, and make sure to include lots of emphasis, details surrounding what was discussed. This is extremely important. List of tasks and action items, right? Another pretty common thing that you want from like meeting notes. If somebody was taking that manually, which a lot of companies I've talked to do take them manually, which is crazy, but that's something that is very common practice for people to take. And then 4th point is the data the user wants. Try to extrapolate without going overboard. And then the data they want is going to be our variable right here, data they want, which if we go back to Airtable is this right here, which, I mean, this was kind of a question mark when I was building this, but I thought that it would be fun to have this dynamic variable that they could pull what they wanted out of it. So it was a little more customizable and a little more personal. Like there's things that we will always want, right? Which are like meeting notes, topics, discuss, whatever. But I thought that this was fun to include a dynamic variable that the user could kind of like control themselves when using our software. And then as for this last piece, output your response in HTML with appropriate tags for each section. Do not include this triple like hyphen thing, this triple tick HTML anywhere, because when ChatGPT outputs HTML, it goes HTML, and then at the bottom another 3 in HTML, which is the syntax to like indicate HTML, I suppose. So it's important that we just tell it to like not include that, because it's annoying and we don't need it, and it also doesn't look good in our final email, right? So do not include that. And then for the max tokens, I just tossed 1,000 in. Again, you can just leave this at 0 when you're using a model like GPT 3.5, because it's like literally doesn't matter, because the input output costs for tokens are so cheap. So like really this doesn't matter. I'm just going to put 1,000 for this video. Now if we go to show advanced settings here, we have temperature. So you get a little description of temperature if you don't know what it is here. So the temperature essentially indicates how creative or how like neutral and accurate the model is going to perform. So as we can see here, higher temperatures generate more diverse and creative responses. So some use cases that would be good for: writing, creative writing, stuff like that. Lower temperatures generate more focused and well-defined responses, which is exactly what we want, because this is exact. We don't want it to like tell a story about what happened in the meeting. We want it to tell us exactly, factually what happened in the meeting. So we'll go 0.3 for this. And then top P, it's like cousin. You can think of it as like temperature's second cousin. So it is related to temperature. However, it uses a different algorithm to determine which tokens it will prioritize. So it's alternative sampling with temperature based on token probability. 0.1 means only the tokens in the top 10% probability mass are considered. So we really don't have to worry about this. We'll just leave it at the default one, right? Then there's all these cool things that I will make another video on very shortly because these are all important as well. And in our response format, we can just leave it as text. So I just wanted to show you those just so you can have an idea that those exist in the first place and also just kind of what they do. Now, final module here is going to be our email module. And we are going to want to send an email that will include the transcript that we've just generated for our user, for our first user for the SaaS, which is super cool. So I've already created a restriction right here, or sorry, connection. We're going to use this SMTP connection right here. Again, quite simple, add connection type. There's Google, Microsoft, other, which is SMTP. Yeah, nothing more to say about that, I suppose. So for the recipient of this email, we're going to include this email variable that we collect in the form right here. Boom. Then for the subject, we can just hard code this in. The subject will be like, take a look at your meeting transcript. Or like, your meeting transcript has arrived. I like that more. Yeah, nice. Your meeting transcript has arrived. Now, the content type is going to be HTML because we told GPT to output its response in HTML right here, because it'll be formatted much nicer because the bodies of emails automatically detect HTML. So if you have like an H1 heading, like a bold heading or a paragraph section, it'll automatically format and like just make it look way nicer, essentially. So now for the content piece of it, obviously we're going to want to pull from our GPT completion right here. So we can go into this top module here, click on choices, message, content right there. And we won't worry about attachments for now. So let's click OK. Let's make sure to save our scenario. All right, so this is looking all right. Actually, this is pretty good. Always name your scenarios, of course. We'll go Airtable Micro-SaaS. Woo! Okay, dope. So this is going to be our finalized scenario. However, now let's run a test through it. Let's fill out a form in Airtable and let's see what this thing does here. So if we go into here, click done, LinkedIn URL. Now I also just put this in just for like an interesting piece of it. Maybe we can collect more data about our users, and then from those responses, we could maybe send a follow-up form on LinkedIn to them, ask them to leave a bit of feedback about the experience. So that's just something nice I thought I'd include. Let's drop in the URL here. I'm going to browse local, and where is it at? I believe it's this one here. Can I do a quick look at this? That one's an hour. That's not the one we're going to want to use. I believe it's this, which is a little
crazy.
Nice, which is a little bit shorter. Okay, we will use this. We'll open that, drop that in there. 14 megs. Cool. Yeah, it's so sorry. So I feel like I didn't even mention this, which is crazy. The reason that we are not using Tally for this, when Tally would be the perfect tool for the job, is because their file upload is limited to 10 megabytes on the free plan. However, when you pay, that gets removed and the file size is unlimited. So you can upload like a 10 gigabyte file, I suppose. They don't really specify in Pro, but you can see here there is unlimited uploads. Remove the 10 meg file size. So that's amazing. However, I'm not paying for it. So that's why you're getting the cheap Airtable. This is like the Costco brand Micro-SaaS, but hey, we're rolling with it. So that's why we're not using this. I feel like I didn't even specify that. My apologies to the people that were like questioning me earlier in the video. What's he even talking about? So number of people in the meeting, we'll go 4. Data they want. I want a concise, can I spell? Summary of the next steps, if next steps that we agreed upon in the call. So like, you know, if somebody was supposed to send an email, okay, you text me this, I'll let you know about this, I'll follow up with this person. Maybe they talked about that, maybe not. Obviously, the person in the call will have context of that and know what went on during the call, so they'll be able to like we're just going to assume that they're not going to add anything that didn't happen in the call here and will cause GPT to hallucinate. So again, I'm not sure what was talked about in the specific call I uploaded, so we'll see what happens here. However, we're just kind of going to bank on our user to not ask for anything crazy. So then the email is going to be eliaocalusi@gmail.com. And now again, you're probably going to want to put like email for us to send the transcript to here, give them more context, but that's all right. Boom. Thank you for submitting the form. So now we have data in the pipe here. Again, this scenario isn't on, so it won't run at our designated 3-minute interval, but that's all right. We can just choose where to start, click all. And if you choose manually here, you'll see it'll load up. And then we have this data that got submitted at 6:37 p.m., 6:37 p.m. right now. So that's the data that we can safely assume that we'll want to use. Click that, click run once, and let's see what happens here. Now, the Whisper transcription takes a little bit of time to fully do its thing. And if we actually look in the usage, when I was testing this system out earlier, we can refresh this. We have used 64 cents, and per run for this 14-minute file we've uploaded, 14-minute meeting, it's about 9 cents in audio model usage per run. 9 cents. And then you can see GPT 3.15 Turbo, we've done like 4 calls of it, and it's 2 cents. So that's like negligible. Like, that's absurd. Nice. Okay, Whisper has finished. Now let's wait on GPT to do its thing. No, why did it fail? All recipients were rejected. Why did it do that? What are you doing? Email eliaocalusi@gmail.com. Isn't that what I put? Did I use the right connection? Yeah, I mean, these are both like the same connection. Let's try with this one and let's see what happens. I'm not sure why that didn't necessarily work. All recipients were rejected, so clearly the email I put in was invalid. But for now, let's just have a look at what we got out of this. So if we go to content here, we can see it formatted it perfectly in HTML, which is awesome. And it seems to be everything that we want in here. But again, I've updated this email. Let's give it a run again. No, not that. Choose where to start. We'll go all. Boom. And then we'll hit run again. And then let's come back when this is finished and let's see if the email is working properly. Now, if we open up my inbox right here, we can see we have gotten the email from Eli Calusi right here. That's me. Your meeting transcript has arrived. And look at this. We have this beautifully formatted, beautifully summarized analysis of our meeting. We have a nice title, meeting analysis right there. And now let's have a look at this, the general outline. So nice. Updates on the progress of different buildings and challenges faced. Perfect. Seems like we have a good little outline there. Duration of topics, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, right? This is useful because Maybe we only wanted to touch on something briefly in the meeting and it got way too out of control and we did like 20 minutes on it and wasted a bunch of time. This is a good thing to reflect on. Tasks and action items. Continue working on building progress and finding effective engagement strategies. Caitlin and team, so we can remind people what was done in the meeting and what they committed to doing post-meeting. So if we wanted to do a new flow, we could go like, hey, now send an email to these people with their action items and make sure that they don't forget to follow up, right? So this is kind of the gateway to doing all these things. And these are potential features that we could add on in the future of our Micro-SaaS. So we have these next steps again here. Perfect. It's all looking really good. Now, this is kind of a bullet point, nice summary. Again, a good starting point for you in your Micro-SaaS. Something that you can look at is maybe incorporating more paragraphs. You can add attachments that include like different points and different topics and different things from the meeting. You can get crazy with this and you can format it really however you want. But that is going to be the general gist of our scenario here. We built it together. We've done well. And that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. And I hope you learned something. We built something together. And again, it's just highlighting how simple it really is to go into something, not overthink it, build an MVP, and quite literally, if you have Tally in this case, start collecting payments from clients right away for your Micro-SaaS, right? So that'll be it, as I said, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.